Good day everyone, my name is Marcal Rindy Bartolome. I'm going to present our Windows OS comparison. These are the topics we are going to cover, namely vendor support, codename of the OS, system type or architecture, system requirement, features, application compatibility, backup and restore procedure, and installation procedure. So, vendor support. This vendor support means the support of Microsoft on that official OS. So let's start with Windows 95. Mainstream support ended on December 31, 2001, marking it as obsolete. For Windows 98, the mainstream support for Windows 98 or 98 SE ended on June 30, 2002, while the extended support for the OS ended on July 11, 2006. For Windows Millennium Edition, or Windows ME, it was initially set to end on December 31, 2004. However, the extended support ended on July 11, 2006, and this was done to ease user transition. Windows XP, the mainstream to extended support transition, ended on July 14, 2009. Monthly security updates continued until April 8, 2004. So for Windows Vista, the mainstream support for Windows Vista ended on April 10, 2012, while the extended support for the OS ended on April 11, 2017. Windows 7 mainstream support ended on January 13, 2015, while the extended support for the OS ended on January 14, 2020. Windows 8/Windows 8.1, the support ended for the support for both ended on January 12, 2016 and January 10, 2013 respectively. Windows 10, the end of support is set for October 14, 2025. The current version, which is 22H2, is the final version with monthly security release updates until the end date. Existing LTSC release will continue to receive updates beyond the end date based on the specific life cycles. So for Windows 11, the version 23H2 released on October 31, 2003, released on 2023, is expected to end support on November 11, 2025. The version 22H2 released on September 20, 2022 is supported until October 8, 2024. The version 21H2 launched on October 4, 2021 is expected to end support on October 10, 2023. So basically, the support on each Windows lifecycle can last 4 years, and the longest of which is Windows XP, which lasted around 10 years on the extended support. So for the codename, for Windows 95, it was released in 1995 and uses Chicago as its codename. For Windows 98, which was released in 1998, it uses Memphis, both of which are cities in America. For Windows ME, when it was released in 2000, it uses the word millennium, which is 2000s. The Windows XP was released in 2001 and uses the word reseller as its codename. Windows Vista was released in 2007 and uses Longhorn as its codename. Windows 7 was released in 2009 and uses Vienna as its codename. Windows 8/8.1 was released in 2012 and uses Blue as its codename, while Windows 10 uses True codename, which was Threshold, the first release, and Redstone, which was the afterwards. Windows 11 was released in 2021 and uses Sun Valley as its codename. So let's move on to system type or its architecture. Windows 95, 98, and Windows Me all uses a 32-bit system and is a single user operating system. Uh, and Windows XP uses a 32-bit, but later versions introduce a 64-bit system type. It was also the first OS to feature a multi-user operating system. From there on, Windows Vista to Windows 11, all of them uses a 32-bit and a 64-bit for its OS, and also has a multi-user operating system. So let's move on. System requirement. So, Windows 95 requires a computer with minimum of 4 megabytes of RAM, a 38DX processor or higher, and 50 or 55 megabyte of hard disk drive. Windows 98 requires a 486DX 66 megahertz or faster processor, 16 megabytes of RAM, 24 is the recommended, and approximately 500 megabytes of hard disk drive. Windows Me, the minimum requirement requires an Intel Pentium 150 MHz or faster processor, or 300 MHz or faster for the additional of the Windows Media Player, at least 270 megabyte up to 410 of hard disk drive, a CD-ROM standard for a CD-ROM or DVD standard sound card for sound capability, and a VGA or a video graphic adapter or higher resolution. The Windows XP minimum requirements were a 233 MHz processor, 64 megabyte of RAM, 1.5 gigabyte of available hard disk drive, and a SGVA compatible graphics card. Windows Vista requires 1 gigahertz 32-bit for the 32-bit or 64-bit processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM, and also requires a DirectX 9 capable graphic processor with a WDDM driver with pixel shader to 32 bits per pixel and a minimum of 184 128 megabyte of memory. It also requires a 40 GB disk drive with at least 15 gig free. Windows 7 requires much higher much higher system requirements than the previous, with 1 gigahertz of RAM or faster for both of its 32-bit and 64-bit processor, 1 GB of RAM for the 32-bit or 2 GB of RAM for its 64-bit, 16 gigabyte of RAM for its hard disk drive, and a DirectX 9 graphic device with a WDDM.1 or higher driver. From there on, the Windows 8 requirement almost doubles in the processor compared to Windows 7 with 20 gig of uh, hard drive space. The Windows 10 minimum requirement is almost the same as Windows 8. However, for Windows 11, it now requires at least 4 gig of RAM, 64 gig of available storage, and requires a TPM version 0.2, a UEFI firmware, security boot capability, a graphics card compatible with DirectX 12 or later, and a WDDM 2.0 driver, and a high definition display with a 9-inch or greater monitor and 8-bit per color channel. So let's move on. Features. Each update of the OS release a new features, or not new but updated version of previous features. So I'm not gonna read every one of them. I'm just gonna read the basic and summarize it all. So for the Windows 95, they added a start menu, which we all know, but it was quite different back then. The plug and play, which means you can plug like mouse and USB flash drive for it to play, and the taskbar and the system tray, which is usually found below the next to the start menu. Windows 98 added the Internet Explorer 0.4, the active desktop, which allows users to customize their desktop, and device management improvement, which allows for more troubleshooting and better management of hardware devices connected to the computer. Windows Me added System Restore, which you can roll back to the system to a previous state. Movie Maker, which allows you to make movies or basic video edits, and an improved media player, which can play your media from MP4, MP3, and others. Windows XP introduced remote assistance, which allows the user to seek help online. Fast user switching, which allows you to switch users via boot up, and autoplay, which launches a particular file or program when a USB is inserted, or a CD. So for Windows Vista, it introduces a new interface, which is the arrow interface. The Windows sidebar, which provides quick access to tools and volume control, and user account control, which allows users to have different permissions. So I guess couldn't change much stuff, while the main admin can. Windows 7 introduced Arrow Shake and Snap, which allows users to easily snap windows to the edge of their screen. And they also added libraries, which is the video features we see today in the file manager, and improved taskbar. It improved the taskbar for Windows 8. It introduces the startup screen with a live tile, the square ones, so you can access it quickly. It also added charms bar, so you can provide quick access to system-wide setting and features. It also improved the file explorer. For Windows 10, it introduces Cortana, which is the virtual assistant. It also introduces virtual desktop, which you can use to create a virtual desktop for better organization and multitasking. And it also introduces Continuum, which uh, allows a seamless transition between tablet and desktop mode for two-in-one devices. Windows 11 introduced a redesigned start menu from Windows 10, a snap layout which allows users to customize their PC even more, and the direct integration of Windows Microsoft Teams to Windows 11. So next, application compatibility. This refers to how well an application can run and what application can run on it. Which, for example, there's an old application you want to run. It could run on newer devices while older devices don't have such capabilities. So let's start. So I'm just gonna summarize this part. Basically, Windows 95, 98 have little to no application compatibility. Obviously, 95 has compatibility with the existing MS-DOS and other Windows program at the time. Windows 98 introduces the Windows driver model, and this allows manufacturer to use older hardware, such since it was the driver standard back then. But by introducing this, it can accumulate a wider array of devices. Since then, Windows Me to 11, they introduce compatibility mode, which allows the execution of a software restricted to a specific Windows version. It started with Windows XP, and after which they have improved it by adding more and more to it, such as a compatibility center to provide online resources, a hot start to instantly start any application, and also a mirroring process. So that is pretty much for the application compatibility. From Windows XP to Windows 11, they all have compatibility mode, and the most complete and better compatibility mode is in Windows 11, since all of the features from previous OS was moved in Windows 11. So backup and restore procedures. This refers to how well the OS can back up files or restore its OS and other stuff like that. So let's hear. Windows 95 introduces a long file name format. Before then, you could use a long file name, since when you moved it, it would corrupt those files. But with this, it allows the manipulation of long file names, and with the installation CD, you could dedicate to the backup and the restoration of long file names. Windows 98 introduces Microsoft Backup, Disk Cleanup, and ScanRegW, which serves as a registry checker tool, ensuring registry integrity. Windows may introduce system restore for troubleshooting, allowing users to undo adverse installation. It also introduces system file protection to protect files from corruption, and system configuration util, which allows for manual file extraction. Windows XP introduces uh, the backup wizard, which helps you guide when backupping files and settings. Most of this didn't change much, and up until Windows 8, it just got improved. While Windows 10, they introduces OneDrive integration, so your files are now backup within cloud. Windows 11 introduced a new backup app, and this app would help you facilitate the backup of folders, application settings, and credentials when transferring your data to another PC. So for Windows installation, I'm going to summarize this basically from Windows 95 to Windows Me. The users can use a floppy disk to install the Windows. However, from Windows XP to Windows XP, you introduce a CD, while Windows XP Vista uses a CD. Windows 7, 8/8.1, Windows 10, and 11, either you can use a DVD or a USB stick to install your OS. All of them have improved their graphic user interface when installing, with the most common now is the Windows 11, which optimizes the installation process for new users or older professionals. So that is basically the comparison of my Windows OS. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.